far as ethics goes, you know, like, no one likes a biter, man. No one likes a thief, but you know, this is modern music, and sampling has like been ingrained in my musical DNA since I started making music. It's, you know, it's the foundation of hip hop, and you know, just do something dope with it. This is one of my secrets. I like to sample off live records. Off, you know, this is Marvin Gaye, I think live in '74 or something like that. And what I like about the live records is, first of all, you know, right now it's 2015. Hip hop's however many 50 years old or some shit, and you know, a lot of these samples have been used already, man. You have the classic producers like back from Pete Rock and Premier to Just Blaze to, you know, just every Ninth Wonder, you know, just the generations that follow, and you know, a lot of, I mean, shit, Isley Brothers, Marvin, Motown, all that stuff's been sampled, man. Everybody's picked that stuff apart. So what I like about the live recordings is, you know, a lot of times those haven't been used, and a lot of times it could be a song that you recognize, but they play it in a different key, or you got some dope, like, as you could hear in that song, there was like girls screaming in the background and shit, and like, you know, you like I said before, it's like it's ambience, and it's like, and it's vibe, you know, it's a feeling. So this is the sample that it came from. Me scratching this shit. I'm gonna take this beat and I'm gonna do a totally different tempo and a totally different style with the same file. So I recorded this off vinyl. This is Ableton Live. Most of you know that. In my workflow, there's two main ways that I manipulate my audio, and one of them is obviously on this timeline here. When I started using Logic, and now in Ableton, the sampler, or I use the simpler, which is an even more stripped down version, but I find so much functionality in using this as opposed to just chopping audio on the timeline, because you have filter control, enveloping, pitch, LFO, you know, volume, and then all this stuff is, you know, you can manipulate it via MIDI. I'm kind of slowing this down for y'all so you could see what I'm doing, but when I'm in my workflow, as you can see, it's really quick. And so that other beat I played you, I think I made that in like 15 minutes or something like that. It was just like a burst of inspiration, and it was a sample. All the parts were in there. I didn't really necessarily write any music. So with modern rap beats that are minimal, you know, I'm definitely like, you know, my advice is, you know, don't spend too much time on them, you know what I mean? Like, hone your craft by all means, and like be a perfectionist, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, take your stuff seriously, but like, once you're comfortable in your workflow, there's no reason for a rap beat that has 10 tracks, 12 tracks, you know, there's no reason that you shouldn't have a great idea out in a couple hours. I do a lot of recycling of the content that I create inside Ableton, so I'm gonna pull up some drums from a beat that I made yesterday. So what's dope about Ableton is I'm just browsing through my my hard drive right now into my projects folder, and this is a beat I made yesterday, and you just pull the folder down and I could see all the tracks that I have in here. But I'm gonna pull the kick and the claps. So just like that, you got a beat. That's one way you can do it, right? So that was, again, just to recap, me simply dragging and dropping my sample into the simpler, finding a little section of the song that I liked, drew the notes in a MIDI clip, and there you have it. Yeah, so this sounds a lot different than a lot of the music I'm known for, and that's you know, to me, one of the beauties of sampling. You know, I like to definitely like write a lot of my own melodies and chords and come up with you know, my own musical concepts, and that's definitely like, and collaborating with people and guitarists and stuff like that. The collaboration is probably one of the most important parts of making music, in my opinion. But sampling, you know, allows you to kind of play with, you know, play with the recording and, you know, play with the time and space that was captured in the original recording as far back as, you know, the 70s. So it's a pretty cool thing. You know, I've been producing for at least a decade and making beats and DJing and all that stuff. And in regards to my comment earlier, I used to spend 100 hours on one song and not get anywhere with it and mix it until I hated it and beat myself over the head because I wanted something to, you know, I wanted my kick to knock harder and I wanted my bass line to be fatter, and I didn't know when it was done and I didn't know if it was good. And that's all, like, you know, that's all comes a part of maturing as a musician and a producer. And, you know, a producer's role, you know, I've come to learn, I don't know where I picked this up, but it's decision making. When it's not a beat maker doing the production, you know, they're scheduling the string players and they're picking the engineer they want to work with, and they're picking the session players, and they're making sure the vocalist is on task, and they're making sure the vocalist does the right take. All of those principles, like, you should apply that to your beat making, and you should even apply that to your sampling. You know, you want to make the right decisions. You want to pick the right string sound. You want to pick the right drum break. You want to pick the right horn fill, right? So it's the same thing, you know, it's decision making. And now that all this technology is at everybody's fingertips, and now that everybody's a producer, everybody's a DJ, and I think that's a great thing that everybody has access to this technology, because, you know, 50 years ago I might not be standing here. I didn't grow up in LA. I wasn't around studio culture. If it was 50 years ago, I might not have ever had a chance to even be a musician. The problem is that, as you know, a lot of tracks come out, 1,000 tracks come out per day. I don't know what the number is, but it's a lot. And, you know, so much music comes out and it's so oversaturated. Like, how do you stand out? How do you be original? How do you cut through all these different beat makers and producers and musicians? And as a producer, you know, again, it's decision making. You know, when you're sampling stuff, you know, even when you're listening for samples, if you're going through records, you know, it's like, if you're going for a high fidelity sound, if you're going for something that you really want to sparkle, then, you know, make sure you're not digging through poor sample quality material. You know, make sure you're not grabbing garbage samples and putting them in and hoping that you can massage those into a hot sound. I've done that for years. You know, I wondered why can't I get this? I'll A/B to like another track. Like, why can't I get this cracking harder? Like, why is it not? I can't get it any louder. I can't put any more like limiters and maximizers on it, and there's nothing I can do to make it louder. And that's because the sample material starting with, and when I say sample material, that could be from, you know, a electro house sample pack, or it could be from a Marvin Gaye record, or it could be from your band recording that you recorded the drums and you're going to reuse the drums for another record. Or on the flip side, if you want to make a really dusty, you know, Jay Dilla, like, you know, dusty swing beat, a 404 beat, then grab that 404 and sample some scratchy, dusty records and go about that. My point is, like, it's the decision making, you know, it's your instincts. Like, that's gonna go a long way, because everybody can learn how to do this now, because it's not, you know, the technology's made it really easy. So, you know, the most important thing I want you to take away from all this stuff is trust your instinct, make good decisions when picking the samples you're using, and you know, take that part of it seriously, and it's going to really help out when you're writing and when you're arranging and when you're working later. Having a great foundation is the way to go.